I'd like to introduce the next speaker, Paul Mikotakov, CEO of Avia. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sam.
We have very short.
All right, so I will present, right, from my screen, yeah? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, let's do this. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, please.
All right, great. So Val Miftakov, CEO and founder, Avia. We build hydrogen electric powertrain for aviation. And we think, of course, that hydrogen electric is the right answer for aviation of all kinds. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, so we'll go through some of these things relatively quickly and focus on the things that perhaps were not covered yet in this presentation or this event. So we all started, actually my story is before this company, I had a company in the electric vehicle space on the grounds, battery vehicles and charging infrastructure. We built the largest network of smart chargers in the United States, sold the company to a large utility in 2017. And then when it became the time to think about what's next, aviation was a natural thing for me because I'm a pilot myself. And also that was around the time when things like this started appearing. And many of you guys have seen Greta Thunberg talking about the climate change and talking about the impact on the environment and talking about the how much damage flying has on our ecosystem. And it's not just about CO2, it's about the soot particles, it's about nitrogen oxides and various other problematic effects that aviation, fossil fuel aviation has. So if you look at some numbers, this is of course a huge market. $1.5 trillion total, about $1 trillion in operations, about 100 billion in engines, 200 billion in aircraft, and 200 billion in fuel. And this entire market is getting more and more hammered with sustainability issues and sustainability pressure. So today, about 5 to 10% of total human climate impact. The emissions are actually CO2 emissions are about 2.5, 3% maybe, but all these other forcing mechanisms that I mentioned actually provide a multiple on top of that in terms of climate impact. So already 5 to 10% today. If you look at the business as usual trajectory, the efficiency improvements of aircraft and engines just do not catch up to the growth rate of aviation. Now we're in pandemic and everything is went down, but we're going to come out of it, and 2 years from now, aviation will be back in the growth spurt, and this is what we're going to see. In the business as usual scenario, we're going to see 25, 50% of total human climate impact from aviation, because everything else is getting cleaner, right? You have ground transport. This is my previous company, previous world, getting cleaner and cleaner with electric cars, trucks, and so forth. The power industry is already getting much, much cleaner, and industrial use buildings and all that. So aviation is really becoming this outlier, and there is no real solution today. Like if you go to the large airlines, large operators, all they talk about right now is offsets and carbon offsets, carbon credits, trading, and all those things, which are all fake sustainability. In our opinion. So we really need to solve this through technology. So and as you know, everybody wants to fly. So as soon as the quality of life increases to a certain level, people want to get on the plane, want to go on vacation, want to go to that business meeting. And a lot of new airports are built in the developing world, in China. Huge number of new airports. Everybody wants to fly. And then, as presented in the previous panel, there's the whole 3D sort of personal transportation revolution is upon us and will be coming in. And of course, here is a Fifth Element. Nice movie, those who haven't seen. But very visionary, and that's what we're going to have. And that's a lot of additional aircraft in the air. So we need to solve it. So how do we solve it? There are basically 6 different ways to think about it. And we at Zero Avia, as we started about 3 years ago, we did it this thinking from the first principles perspective. I'm a physicist myself, PhD in physics. My management team is similarly suited as well, and we looked at the fundamental physics of various solutions. So of course you have batteries. This is the first one here. Then you have turbine hybrids. Then you have biofuels. Then you have synthetic fuels. Then you have hydrogen turbines, which is interesting. We'll talk a little bit about it. And then hydrogen electric, hydrogen fuel cell, and electric motors. And we looked at all of these from fundamental perspective, energy density, efficiency, theoretical limits, all of that. And this is what we found. Um, on battery electric, we just have fundamental blockers. And again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time. We already talked about it, energy density, all of that. In addition, cycling material, sourcing issues and whatnot. Turbine electric, yeah, could work, but it doesn't really make any sense. You're not extracting any significant fundamental improvements in fuel and efficiency. Biofuels can't really scale. If you look at plants as a way to convert sunlight into fuel, that's just dumb. It's not getting any kind of efficiency. It's 500 times less efficient than solar electrolysis on the same piece of land. You're not even talking about the water issues, environmental impact of agriculture, and all those things. So really, what remains on the bottom is our 3 hydrogen-derived solutions. Synthetic fuels take hydrogen, so make hydrogen through electrolysis, zero emission, because no other way of making hydrogen, zero emission hydrogen, will really scale. So you make hydrogen in each of those cases. And in the first case, you then have another chemical plants to convert that hydrogen into synthetic fuel. The benefit is you can use that synthetic fuel in the existing engines and call it a day. At least on the emissions basis, on the CO2 emissions basis. The problem is all the other issues that you have with burning fossil fuel. Now, in this case, not fossil anymore, but synthetic. All other issues remain. So that multiple on the CO2 from a climate perspective still there. And then this fuel is crazily expensive, right? So hydrogen itself has a little bit of a cost problem and we need to work on it. But then you add the whole new cost and efficiency kit of the chemical process to capture the air from the atmosphere and then bind it to hydrogen to create fuel, right? So cost is a huge barrier. And then you have all the disadvantages of burning fuel. Hydrogen turbine, better. So at least you don't have the penalty of carbon capture and all those things. You can use hydrogen directly. The problem is that turbines would still have some of the nitrogen oxide emissions. They're not as efficient as hydrogen electric powertrain. The maintenance is higher. We think the best solution is really hydrogen electric from the first principles. Like you look at it and really you combine the superior energy density of hydrogen, 3 times better than jet fuel per kilogram basis, and superior efficiency of the electric powertrain. And you combine the two, you get the best solution. So that's what we think is going to happen over time. What we need to work on is here on the bottom right, secondary issues. We need to work on the power density of the fuel cell systems and the volume and weight of the fuel storage. And that's what some of the big things that we at Zero Avia are working on. So with that, our vision is renewably powered hydrogen electric aviation, make fuel, make hydrogen on site at the airport from local renewable supply and fuel the planes right there. We can deliver not only zero emission, but also lower costs and match the range of the fossil fuel aircrafts through that. We also think this product is going to be better than jet engines, just similar to how electric cars are better products compared to gasoline cars, even internal combustion cars. Hydrogen electric aircraft will be better product compared to fossil fuel aircraft. You have lower and stable fuel costs, and the industry today spends a lot of time and money on hedging against the fluctuations of the oil prices and whatnot. None of that is here. Electricity is much more stable commodity. Even if you don't source it from your dedicated renewable arrays, if you have dedicated renewable source, then a complete stability, lower maintenance costs, again, electric powertrain versus internal combustion, high pressure, high temperature, lower noise levels from electric powertrain, and ability to build more efficient airframes. Once you have electric propulsion, you can think about distributed propulsion. You can think about various solutions on the thermal management and how you deal with drag of that. So more design space opens up. It was great to see over the last 12 months, especially that hydrogen momentum is accelerating. We were participants in this study that the European Union put out together with McKinsey earlier this year in May, that basically said future of aviation is in hydrogen, and we were profiled in that study as well. And then you saw what the French government did, and Airbus announced just 2 weeks ago, all in on hydrogen as the future of aviation. And I sat on the panel at KAEA with Guillaume Faury, the CEO of Airbus, and he basically made my pitch for hydrogen. It was great. So we see the majors of the industry are coming in as well. So this is what we are working on. We're a power plant company. We build engines, right? And we also have a big play in infrastructure. I'll talk about it a little bit later. But for now, focusing on powertrains. First commercial offering, 600 kilowatt powertrain goes into aircraft like this, 10 to 20 seats, 500-mile range. And then we go from there into larger and larger aircraft, longer and longer distances. By the end of this decade, we will have 100-seat, 1,000-mile aircraft in the air. So we're not just talking about it, we're actually doing it. On the bottom, these are actual things that we're doing. We built our first prototype last year in 2019. We flew it here in the United States. Then we won a major grant in the UK, built up operations there, built our second prototype there, started flying, and 2 weeks ago on September 24th, we had the first flight of the world's largest hydrogen electric aircraft, 6-seat Piper, pressurized airframe, 2-ton aircraft. And later this year, in a few weeks, I guess, we'll be demonstrating up to 300-mile flights on that platform. And then later this year as well, we're switching over to the 19-seater aircraft. What you see basically there on the picture under the first commercial offering, 19-seat aircraft, starting testing of 600 kilowatt system. Flight test next year. And this is some of the news probably a lot of you have seen in the news, but this was pretty historic. We had the Minister of Aviation for the UK. We had Prime Minister mention that in his speech on sustainability. It was a great day for aviation overall. We're also in the UK. We're part of a new initiative that Prime Minister set up, and this is our kickoff meeting here earlier this year, in September probably, or August, where the initiative is about getting a 100-seat jet in the air by 2030. If you remember from the roadmap, this is exactly what we're planning to do. We are one of the 5 aerospace companies on this council, alongside with Rolls-Royce, Airbus, and similarly sized majors. So we're doing something right. As I mentioned, in addition to the powertrain, we're also building the hydrogen airport refueling ecosystem. So this is all real hardware that works today at our R&D facility in the UK, Cranfield Airport, about 50 miles north of London. A renewable array that was already there, so we're just feeding off of it. We built the electrolysis system, the on-site storage, transfer pumps, and the fuel truck that you see here on the picture on the top right, that is running around the airport, similar to what you see at airports with fossil fuel airplanes. They're fueled by fuel trucks showing up and putting fuel in your plane. Same thing here. We already have it. It works. We partnered with Toyota for some ground vehicle support, as they gave us an initial first Mirai, and we're getting a second one pretty soon to do some demonstrations of how our fueling infrastructure can be used for various types of mobility, not just in the air. And in fact, we think that over time, hydrogen infrastructure, production and refueling infrastructure that is built on the airports will be the starting point or some of the nucleus for the infrastructure for other types of transport. Airports are natural transportation hubs. People show up there, goods show up there, trains come in, trucks come in, cars. It's a great place to have production of fuel and distribution of fuel, and we're already doing it. On the economics of hydrogen, so we actually think that you can get to $3 to $4 within the next 4 years on green hydrogen at the right volume. The volume is key. This assumes you have localized production of electricity, let's say from a large renewable array, and these already exist in places like California, or Arizona, or Mexico, with good solar irradiation, selling energy at very low price already today. So if you have something like this and you build a 100 megawatt electrolysis facility, you are going to see $3 to $4 per kilo at the pump, at the airports, 3-4 years out, right? And by the way, that will mean that we are beating jet fuel pricing, at least pre-pandemic levels jet fuel pricing. We've also done a lot of analysis and modeling and real quotations for the infrastructure with various people, large electrolysis companies, and we can show that we can not only get the economics at scale, but also scale profitably to that, especially with small operators that pay a lot higher jet fuel prices than United or Korean Air and other large carriers. Overall, the fuel market is, of course, very attractive. As I said, $200 billion today in fuel. We think we can, over time, move the entire aviation to hydrogen, and that is a huge market, 50 to 100 megatons of hydrogen a year. This, by the way, looks large, but 100 megatons is what the industry makes and uses today. Right? The worldwide industry, fertilizer, oil refineries, industrial use cases consume, I think last year, over 80 million tons of hydrogen being produced, stored, and used in those processes. So the industry knows how to make it, how to store it, how to use it, how to safely handle it. So this, of course, would mean doubling it by 2050, but it's not, starting from zero. But it is a huge new market. So we have a lot of the large fuel companies, large industrial gas companies, very interested in this potential. Of course, since we have been so active in the market and actually have done a lot of tangible things, we have hardware in the air. We're the only company that has hydrogen fuel cell aircraft of this size up in the air, and we want to continue to continue that leadership. We got a huge footprints out there, captured attention not only of the media on the left here, but also on the right with the operators. We have a number of signed LOIs. We have discussions with all the majors, well, not all, but many majors, new vehicle manufacturers, and the governments. I already mentioned the UK, and there's some other governments that are looking to support us. So I'll stop here, see what questions you have. So this is the message I wanna leave you with is it's not only the future, it's reality and it's becoming real, and we're making it happen.